amazing today. I'm back again with the live stream. It's been a couple of days since you guys and I have chatted. So let me try and find a better lighting spot so you guys can see me clearly. Because I'm streaming from my cell phone, which has a great image quality. So I have to use it at all costs. But it also takes some compositions to get the best quality possible out of your smartphones and stuff. So if you guys can allow me, I'm just gonna have to fix the lens here quick, and then we can get this started. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. If you watching from somewhere, make sure to drop a comment in the comment section and let me know where you're watching from. And yeah, while I try and find a spot for better lighting. So you guys let me know if you can see me well, and I would really appreciate it. And also make sure to let me know in the comment below if the sound is the transmission is really good. The reception is great, then just give me a thumbs up and I would really appreciate it. So you guys know that I try to stay away from politics as much as possible on my channel, because my YouTube channel, it's not dedicated for political talks or any type of political events or anything like that, because that's not what I advocate on my channel. But because I'm 100% Congolese and I care a lot for that country, because that's where I'm born, I grew up there, that's the country of my origin. And if my country national security is threatened, well, I don't care what country it is, I'm gonna have to speak on it. So in this case, we are talking about Rwanda. So we know for more than 2 decades now that Rwanda has been orchestrating all kinds of attacks in the Eastern of Congo. And we all know it has a lot to do with natural resources. And in this video, we're gonna crack it all open and talk about it. I know it's trending online. You've probably seen it in other YouTube platforms and stuff. But in this particular video on live stream, I would like you guys to pay attention to the things that I'm about to talk about, and then we'll see the benefit of a lot of things that I always talk about on my YouTube channel relating to land acquisitions and doing business in Africa and so forth. Guys, we need to understand one thing as Congolese, that the soil that had been given to us by God, because we never asked for it. And there is a reason God created this earth, and he had attributed people to particular lands. We came out from Congo, and it is a blessing and a curse at the same time. I hate to use the word curse referring to Congo in terms of the resources that we have in our soil. And that's also the origin of a lot of problems that we've been going through. Congo does not limit itself in Kinshasa. Salute, brother. Please let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and I would really appreciate it. So Congo, it's not only Kinshasa. Congo, it's not only Lubumbashi. The Democratic Republic of Congo, it's not only Congo Central. The Democratic Republic of Congo to its entirety. I want you to get this in your head. Congo is the second largest country in Africa after Algeria. If I have a good memory, Congo used to be the third largest country in Africa. But after Sudan was split, they have lost a massive portion of their lands. Now Congo has taken the second place. And we are the 11th largest country in the world. Please, guys, let me know in the comment section below, because all these countries are emerging and country annexing countries or whatever. We may not still be the 11th largest country in the world, but I am very convinced at the time that I'm recording this video, Congo is the 11th largest country in the world. So guys, Paul Kagame, since he toppled Mobutu with the help of international community, of course, also using other, you know, Congolese as well, they were successful in their plan. But because the person who that they, you know, work with it was a true hero, at least that's what we thought, because I have a whole totally different opinion about that. But let's just stick with the facts that he agreed with the deal that they, you know, talked about. The toppled Mobutu, it entered Kinshasa, took power, and a couple of years later, he realized that he could not abide by the rules, you know, that was in, you know, within the terms of the agreement that they had signed. So he went back and said, hey, we need to review this, and you guys need to get a check and get the hell out of here. They didn't want to hear it, and there was another war that broke out. Long story short, Kabila's father was assassinated. Now we have been imposed to have his son, you know, lead the country. That's how we ended up. How a small country like Rwanda is a bully in the Congo, Felix Joseph. Here's the thing: Rwanda can never bully Congo if it wasn't for the support that he receives from the international community. The international community and the West in its entirety, hypocrisy has reached a level of unimaginable. I mean, these people advocate for democracy, to talk about rationality, all that kind of bullshit. But somehow you will have friends that are still providing military assistance to Rwanda. But then you have international or journalists, I mean, that are you know, certified by the international community. There's multiple UN articles that documents the attacks on Congo from Rwanda. There is a strong Rwandan army in the eastern region of Congo that are documented. But when it comes down to prosecuting these crimes, the international community gets cold feet. Don't get me wrong. There have been at least 2 presidents so far since Mobutu was toppled. And since the wars broke out in Eastern of Congo up until now, well, I blame the Congolese politician that the Kagame is a dictator. Why not Congo make business with? Trust me on that. I would love to see Congo ally themselves with Russia and ditch the West. But we all know the consequences of doing that. We all know the consequences of doing that. And that's actually why I'm also for, that's why I'm calling for Congo should join the BRICS. Like, that's the bottom line. Congo should join the BRICS Plus now, that's what they called now, and just get away from the West. That's why you see a lot of these countries that are victim of the West's sanctions are moving away from the West and aligning themselves with the BRICS emerging power. Because whether we like it or not, it's only a matter of when, and will become possible. So we have all of this taking place, okay? And now we are subdued. We are put in a position to accept anything that is imposed by us. Paul Kagame recently just made a claim publicly now that they have lands that had been taken away from them that they need to take back from Congo. And we all know the reason for these wars and how many times they have denied all these claims. For decades, they have manipulated, they have corrupted, and they have paid some Congolese to create instability in the eastern region of Congo. Now we all know the truth. Now we know all along that that's why Paul Kagame has ever wanted. So now with the politics of Tshisekedi and its regime, they've made it abundantly clear that Congo will never give up an inch of its territory to whomever is near it. And that includes Rwanda. And we know Rwanda has always had malicious intentions when it comes down to Congo. We have way more than enough proof to prove that Rwanda is responsible for the atrocities that have taken place in Congo. I'll give you one quick example to prove the point that Paul Kagame Not only that he's the criminal and he's creating instability in the lake region in Central Africa, when Tshisekedi conducted his diplomacy throughout the world, reaching and actually succeeding in removing the regime of notification, where like Congo was not even allowed to purchase weapons without notifying the UN, to strengthen our military, to strengthen our defense. It created a lot of, it really shook Kigali. Kigali was shaken by this move. And I even watched a video on one of the national channels where the journalists, they were complaining about the United Nations decision to remove the regime of notification on Congo, meaning that the armed embargoes that were imposed unjustifiably to us, by the way, had been removed. So it shook them already. Not only that, Tshisekedi made it abundantly clear also that he will never, ever cooperate. It will never allow these rebels that are killing in Congo to integrate the army after the facts. And that's why under the Kabila regime, it seemed that they, ended the M23 insurgencies in Congo, whatnot. But that wasn't really true. Actually, they continued to agree upon this deal, which was intended to infiltrate the army, to infiltrate our institutions, and things like that. We have to understand one thing: Congo will never rest until we find a way to get rid of this, malicious, attacks and what you may call it, complicity, whether it is international community as well as some other Congolese officials too. Make no mistake, I have to admit that there are a lot of Congolese who are accomplice to this particular matter. But now with the new strategies that's meant to track down anybody who has been cooperating with the M23, who is, by the way, another extension to the Rwanda National Army. So now it is becoming more clear that those bodies that have been expatriated to Rwanda, of their, soldiers that perished in Congo, during the wars, or during the Congolese National Army's, defense actions against the RDF. Now, I think their population are becoming more aware that their country has been in war all along, but they have never said anything to their population. Maybe it's the time to acknowledge that. We all know that Congo will never rest unless Paul Kagame is either removed from power or we go to war with Rwanda. Because the way I understand things, the claim that Paul Kagame just publicly made to seize lands in Congo, it has no legal grounds to stand. They've tried any possible way to prove, but since they have nothing to prove, and this plot was, created with the help of the international community, of course, but which it never worked because of the unity of the Congolese people. Now we have reached a point where Kagame sees himself cornered, and now he has to reveal it. Now he just spilled the beans. Something we've been trying to hear for the longest now is become possible. So one thing that we need to understand, guys, remember, every single time you and I have these conversations, I always tell you guys, listen, let's be the one owning our own lands. Leaving the lands to the strangers, to foreigners, is the most dangerous things that could possibly happen to you. Now imagine, now what Paul Kagame is saying publicly, on the national television, and the whole world is watching, right? Do you know what that means? Imagine Rwandan or Rwandese, whatever they call them, I don't even care, owning lands in Congo. Do you know what that will mean? I would rather have Congolese owning more lands. Even if you don't have the money to build it, you can just own it. Whenever you have the money, you can go ahead and get started with your project. No, will take the mineral. Nobody can sell most of their. I'm not even sure what that means. Let me go back and bring that chat back up. Live stream. All right, let's do Emerald PDS. I don't even know what that means. Who will take that mineral? Nobody. Congo sell most of their mineral. Listen, I suggest that you read the history a lot more often than you think you know. All right. So let's go back here. Let me grab this comments real quick. Brand Congolese politicians that Guy Kagame is a dictator. While now Congo make business deals with Russia like others. I'm advocating for that as well, brother. Trust me. The world is changing. We don't have to be scared of the West. And here's the thing. The only power the West is left with is the monetary power. They have the power to sanction countries and then it will affect you big time. But it will only affect you if you were not prepared for it. Look at what's happening in Russia right now, between the war in Russia and Ukraine. No matter everything that they have done so far to bring Russia to their knees, and Russia somehow is still figuring out ways to stand against the the West imperialism. And African countries can do the same thing too. But the problem with our politicians is that they're afraid that they will lose everything that they own, everything that they possess, because they're so, attached to bribery. They're so in love with being corrupt, and that they see all the mansions that they have built will be taken away from them, and their assets that are abroad will be frozen, and everything else. I don't know what you guys gonna make of this, but I'm about to say something that I will probably regret, but I'm gonna say it anyway. At least this is my own personal opinion. I'll give you one example of Joseph Kabila, for instance. Joseph Kabila, we can all say he stole the money, he robbed Congo, he made himself a billionaire. All that could be true, or maybe not. But I'm not here to tell you if he did it or he did not do it. But one thing I'm gonna tell you that I know he did, he invested that money in the Congolese soil. At least we know the things that he owned during his presidency. You have Kingakati, you have all the farms that he's building in where Rwanda in Congo Central, and you have all these other businesses that he got himself involved in. One of these days, if God forbid somebody comes in power and say, hey, I believe the money was, obtained, illegally, and, it gets prosecuted, and then eventually it goes to jail or whatnot, and then they seize all of his belongings. That will go back to the Congolese treasury. Under no circumstances, these belongings will remain in France or some other Western countries like all these other politicians have done. That's why a lot of African presidents that invest their money abroad, when they get toppled and then a lot of claims start getting made against them, and the first thing they do, they will freeze their assets that are abroad, and those assets becomes automatically, I don't know, owned by that government, and the country loses big time. You want to, I don't know, go in the power, steal money, or do whatever you want to do with it. That's why it's very important to always invest. I'm not here telling you go steal money, invest. No. Do your thing, as long as it is done properly. That's why I never got myself involved in politics. I would never ever want to become a politician, and that's something that I don't even think about doing in my life. The one thing I care for is farming and becoming one of the most influential farmers in Congo, and that's my goal. One of these days it will happen. It might take time, but I'm working towards it. I'm working hard for it, because that's what I believe in, and that's what my mind is. But now, let's get this straight. We are from Congo. We live in a diaspora. We're letting countries like Rwanda go in there, do whatever they want, because ourselves are so, oh my God, we are so naive. But we all know what's happening, what's going on. Sometimes we ask ourselves, what do these politicians do? The country is now facing an existential threat in its borders. Why not, now that Paul Kagame has said that, why not officially close the borders? Close the borders. Rwanda cannot come through Congo. Congolese will never go through Rwanda. Why not stop doing all sorts of business, trades with them? And the international community has been watching this. And since they're also owned by the international community as well, they ain't got nothing to do about it. They can never do anything. Look at what's happening in Europe right now. Because the European Union, all these countries, they're against Russia, right? They all send weapons to Ukraine because they want them to combat, the Russians as much as they possibly can. When it comes down to Congo, the African Union is there. They're not going to do anything to help us. They're going to sit there and watch millions of Congolese die every day. And they know well that Paul Kagame is responsible for all of this. And when I talk about this particular issue, I use my words very carefully. I'm not talking about Rwandan people as the population. I'm talking about the Rwandan government, because they're the ones that's leading the country. They're the representatives of their population outside of their borders. What politicians do have nothing to do with what ordinary individuals in those countries do. So the government actions against another country have nothing to do with like ordinary citizens of that country. I believe Congolese and Rwandans should have great relationships, but under Paul Kagame's leadership, Congo will never have fruitful diplomacy with that country. I'm against it, and we should never trade with Rwanda under Paul Kagame. We should never keep our borders open under Kagame, because number one, we don't have business going there. We don't need them. They need us. They have good reasons to come to Congo, but we have zero reason to go to Rwanda. What do they have that we don't have that we need? Nothing. But there's a lot we have, they don't, that they need. That's why they keep coming to Congo. Let's be honest about that. We all study geography from high school. We know what Congo has in its soil. And they continue to discover a lot more new precious metals in Congo. And there was a lot more metals that have been identified, and there's still studies being conducted to identify what those particular metals can do. How can they serve humanity moving forward? What are the technologies that they're developing that would require these natural resources that have been discovered? There is a lot more we have that in Congo that some of us don't even know about. And these precious metals exist there. That's why Rwandan army insurgencies are continuing to grow in the Eastern of Congo. And now I'm even happier that, the current president of Congo, diplomacy route he took, no matter how long it took, it finally got us to where we are now able to purchase whatever type of weaponry system that we want without having to notify the UN first. And it was a great diplomatic victory. Now we all should celebrate for it, because we need it for evil countries like Rwanda under Paul Kagame. Brothers and sisters from the Congolese community, please, it is very crucial that we all bring awareness to this particular issue. We can never continue to be bullied by such a small country like Rwanda. And Rwanda, in itself, they know better. They can never, they won't even come anywhere near close to the power of our army. Cannot compare that. They're in the bottom, like in the list of the most powerful, army in Africa. They don't even make the 20 top ones. They're at the very bottom of the list. We are the 8th greatest army in Africa. Somehow, the small country, which means the complicity involving some Congolese politicians, it is making it way more impossible to win this war. Because we are not fighting against each other. We are not fighting among us. We are fighting the enemy, and the enemy is now being identified. Paul Kagame just made it publicly clear that the reason why the instability is always taking place in Eastern of Congo is because it wants the land. Not just any land, the most strategic lands that you can possibly have in Eastern of Congo, South Kivu, North Kivu. These are the most prominent place for mineral activities, for mining activities, mineral resources, and all of that good stuff. They want these lands because they don't have it. They don't have anything going on for themselves. They live 90% of their GDP, I don't know, it comes from international aid. They don't have anything. Every natural, like raw materials that they were able to produce over the past couple of years, or even way before this regime took power, it was because of the allowance that they received from the previous regime that allowed them to sell and potentially become the number one producer of coltan in the entire Africa. God, how can we explain this? Congo has coltan, Rwanda does not. But under what magic tricks that Rwanda ended up the number one producer of coltan in Africa? I mean, if somebody has a straight answer for that one, I mean, you could tell me, but what mechanism will make that possible? If it wasn't for the killings, continuous killings that they've always done in the Eastern of Congo. Because that's the goal. Maintain the instability to extract the natural resources, to not pay taxes on it, and just leave the population starving, unemployed, desperate. And when they recruit these young guys through the street, they can't resist like 100 or 200, even $300 offer to join this rebel groups that are being created every single day. But unfortunately, some of the Congolese politicians are participating in these type of activities. It is unfortunate, but that is the sad reality that we are going through. Congolese brothers and sisters, stand up. It's time to start stepping up. It's time to start getting more lands, getting involved. There are multiple ways they can get involved by owning lands. If you don't know what you want to do with your land yet, at least get it. Get the paperwork going, have it, have a peace of mind. At least you know how much you own. How much you own. So when you are ready to go and start your investment, at least the land is available. So now look at Paul Kagame. Now he's making claims that he wants to forcibly seize territories in Congo. Now it just revealed his true intentions. For me, that's a declaration of war, because Congo is not ready to give up an inch of its territory, at least not under Tshisekedi. As far as I know, the guy is not perfect, is doing the best he can, but since Mobutu was toppled, this is the only president that had made it clear that he would never negotiate with Rwanda. And after all of this, whatever he had created, now we get to where Paul Kagame found himself cornered and he had to say something. So now by saying that, it had already revealed his true identity. which, by the way, makes me think that Tshisekedi is probably smarter than we thought it was. Because it's under Tshisekedi now we know the true. I mean, we already knew like all along that the number one enemy in the region is Rwanda. But now it is official because of the claim that he just made. It's not a secret anymore, right? So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think that we can do and what are the solutions to end this problem. But if you ask my opinion, the only way a belligerent gets to understand that he doesn't stand a chance is to use the same amount of force or even more than what they're using. Because they're fighting in our territory, in the Congolese soil. But we have never taken a fight over there. Maybe the day Congo will go into Rwanda and start launching missiles, and then the population really see what's going on, because they've already went through. Listen, genocide had already taken place in Congo. Let's be honest about that. The Hutu or and Tutsi, what you call it, genocide. We know it happened, and we know Paul Kagame is a major player in that role too. Genocide had already taken place in Congo. 12 plus millions of Congolese dead since 1994 up until today, and they're continuing to die in the most atrocious way possible. So now you tell me, how much longer until we stand up and do something about this? This requires the national unity. And this is the time when people should publicly say and give their position and be like, listen, our country, national sovereignty is threatened by Rwanda. And now we should do something about it. And that's why Tshisekedi, everywhere he went, he clearly explicitly said that the problem to the Congo's instability is Rwanda. I mean, we may argue Rwanda is not acting alone, and he's not, but he's the main actor created or funded by the West to create instability. You will have Sony, Apple, Samsung, all of these giant tech companies, they do business in Rwanda. They're over there. But what are the reports that we have been receiving since Tshisekedi stood up against this? That the money that he had been making, the revenue had reduced dramatically. And that's creating a lot of issues over there too. And this war, it's not only going to end here. And we have to also be prepared, because Congo has the potential to be a lot greater than what it already is. But we have to show the willingness to get ourselves there. And that requires a lot of Congolese involvement. Seek a way you can be involved in this. Because the moment a country is threatened, the moment the country's land is being claimed by another foreign source, your country is about to go to war. And I'm all for it. I've always believe that the solution to this problem that have been happening in the Eastern of Congo is to use the same amount of military force or more that Rwanda has used against us, because they don't hesitate. They never hesitated in orchestrating attacks in the Eastern of Congo. They have never hesitated in sending missiles to bomb the local population, to civilians. Do you know how many Tutsi have replaced a lot of these villages that have been displaced? People are leaving their homes to go seek peace elsewhere. And in these particular regions, in these villages, when those people left, who had been replaced in those regions? If it's not Tutsi, Rwandan specifically. And these people that go there are not just civilians. A lot of them, They guise themselves as civilians, but in reality, these people are members of Rwanda National Army that are infiltrating our cities, our villages in North, even South Kivu, in those regions. And this has been taking place for a very, very long time. So with the actions, military actions that Tshisekedi had been taking, it's deterring this process, even by removing this the minister that was in charge of auto decentralization. I forgot his name. This guy from Rwanda, Azarias Rubera. Right. It was a giant state and a giant step in the right direction. It's taking precautions to maintain our sovereignty, but it's had a long way to go. It can never do it himself. I'm not here taking sides or what politician is better or what politicians has been doing better or worse. I'm not that. I'm not talking about any of that because I don't know who's doing what. But what I do know for sure, as Congolese, if my country is threatened, I'm allowed to speak loud about it. I'm allowed to tell the truth about what's happening, at least from my understanding, because I see things in my own way. And I believe Congo will be the most prosperous and the most, developed country in Africa in a matter of a decade or two. We should be putting that country in the right path with the new programs that the government is creating under this regime. Is promising that this country has a great future, but it takes Congolese who love this country to implement this, to make sure that these ideas get implemented. Sometimes when a country is threatened, the opposition or, anything, you should all come together and speak one language. When the United States is threatened, Democrats and Republicans, they put their differences to the side. If the country's got to go to war, they're going to war, right? Because it's a matter of national security. Even if it really wasn't, Afghanistan and Iraq or whatever. But I'm not here to talk about that. But our country or our lands are at the much greater risk that it has ever been in the past couple of decades. And you know how I know that? Because of the claim made by Paul Kagame. You can make of it whatever you wish, but go back to what he said. I didn't even need to sit there and listen to everything he was saying because I cannot stand to see even a picture of this guy or see him on television talking. I can never sit and watch TV for 2, even 3 minutes straight and listening to this dumbass talk. I don't even want to see his face because I know what his true identity and his true intentions have always been when it comes down to Congo. They believe they can come in and take lands. I'll tell you one quick story about Tutsi's power, what they actually think, what their thought process is when it comes down to living next to Congo. There was a Tutsi community church somewhere in the South, maybe North Kivu. I can't really recall the exact city. This pastor, who's a Tutsi from Rwanda, and keep in mind, this church, it's predominantly a Tutsi church from Rwanda. The pastor is telling his worshipers that United States of America, Europeans went to the United States of America, they slaughtered Indians, took land, and today the Indians are the minority and Americans or Europeans now, whatever you want to call them, they're the majority. And that's true. And Rwanda will do the same. What does that tell you? A pastor is calling for a genocide because what happened here in America was a genocide. What's happening in Congo? It's a genocide. Look up the definition of genocide. The international community just does not want to publicly say it. If Uganda was ordered by the international community to pay reparations to Congo, Even if I don't believe the amount that they were ordered to pay was not enough for the killings that they've done in Kisangani, which, by the way, the fight involved Rwandan and Ugandan armies inside of the Democratic Republic of Congo, thus violating our territorial integrity per international, I don't know, laws, international laws or whatever. But Rwanda was a part of it. And they even have done way more bad things in Congo than Uganda has ever done. But somehow, they still have never been ordered by the ICC to pay reparations to Congo. In my opinion, I believe African Union should ban Rwanda, should boycott Rwanda, should ban Rwanda from doing business with any country, should, like, monetarily, they should sanction them. They should never allow any of the African African nations that are a part of the African Union do business with Rwanda, just because of what they have done in Congo. But we know they're supported by Israel, United States of America, France, Japan, all of these powerful Western countries, they're behind them. And they control the dollar. And what are you going to do about it? You kind of have to kiss their asses, right? You got to kiss their ass. You got to, cooperate with them. You got to compromise on things that they're asking you to do. But it seems to me that Tshisekedi is leading a whole is taking a whole different approach. And we've seen so far the actions that he had taken, he probably also have someone behind him that's also ensuring something that it had never been assured before to any of the president that was before him. Because Kabila, under his regime, he has never shown a willingness to end this, to even make no strenuous efforts to address this issue. I'm only seeing that with Felix Tshisekedi. And now under Tshisekedi, Paul Kagame has publicly come out and said this, what he really thinks he wants to do in Congo. While their army must be prepared too. Their army must be capable to take on our army. We have the biggest army than they do. We have the biggest country. And we could easily annihilate them if that's what they want. And make no mistake, it'll get ugly. Very, very ugly. People like me, when it comes down to it, oh man, we're all going in there. We're all going. I'm trained, all right? I know how to operate these things. I better believe that. I know. And when it comes down to it, we're all in. But at this point, all I need you to do, what I want you to know is that the enemy of Congo is now identified. Deal with it, whatever you want to do with it. But I'm using my YouTube platform to bring awareness to this particular issue so that more of us can speak the same language and show support to our national army, to the current regime who's willing publicly to demonize the evil, neighbor under Paul Kagame, which is Rwanda. And I love that. I love everything he has done so far since he became president. And I believe he should continue to do so. Let me see if, somebody else had, said something in the comment section that I missed or I didn't respond to anything. We should Instagram live, talk about business next time. Oh, absolutely. Definitely we could do that. We could do that, man. I'm all for it. DM me your Instagram. We'll send each other's, correspondence that we could do live on Instagram. I'm all for it, man. I'm willing to do these things because I really, really want to talk about this stuff with you guys. And there is a lot of Congolese out there that don't know what's happening. And we have the duty to wake everybody up. And I cannot do it alone. All the voices are, all the voices matter. All right. In the beginning, we told the president he didn't believe Kagame. He's wrong. Person to describe himself and his partner strategic and to see what happened. Listen, in politics, there are languages that are, I don't know, technicals, and there are ways to collaborate with one another, but they all know what they were doing. Maybe the biggest mistake he had made is to build, I don't know, gold refinery in Kigali in the attempt to, I don't know, cease fire. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if the refinery had been closed, had been shut down. I don't know, because he made it possible. And when I learned how much the refinery even cost to be built there, 4 million US dollars. Come on. All of these Congolese crooked politicians have way more money than that. We could have 100, even 1,000 of these gold refineries in Congo. How many of those do we have in our country? If somebody knows the statistics, please let me know in the comment section. I don't know that. But when I learned through, it was this house member who talked about this. I don't remember this name, but his light skin, this guy talked about it. And when I learned from the documents he had in front of him how much money it cost to build that, it specifically said that there's a lot of politicians here that goes to different nightclubs throughout the city, popping bottles and throwing money needlessly, but they could be using the money to build refineries here. But why can't we do it here? Let's stop all kinds of trades with them. This guy said it. Now where are we? Now we're at the very same place. So something should be done about it. Let me see it here. Even Stevie Wonder can see Kagame was the problem of Felix. Listen, I agree with you. I understand the world in which we live in. We prefer diplomacy over anything because we know war could be destructive. I mean, war will never build a country. That's why we see like a BRICS Plus. Everything that they do when they want partnerships that is based on mutual respect, that is based in evolution, emergence, economic base, all of that good stuff with the intention to respect everybody's sovereignty. You don't like the deal, you go back and you review it without consequences of being, removed from the system or, being restricted from the rest of the world. That's why you've seen countries that are victim of the Western sanctions are now joining the BRICS because they don't want to deal with that anymore. Countries are even removing, a lot of their assets from the U.S. treasuries, or even converting their dollar that they have into, the U.S. national central banks, because, excuse me, they don't trust the U.S. dollar anymore. The U.S. dollar, United States is weaponizing their dollar, and a lot of countries don't want that. This could also help. This could be a very, very great move to help solve these issues. We've seen what the West is capable to do around the world. And from our standpoint, being from Africa, and we know the history tells us, we don't even need anybody to tell us that we've always been left behind everybody else because we tolerate people to come in, do whatever they want, and with no consequences. No, you cannot treat us like that. You are enriching yourselves with the resources that are coming from Africa, and then you go out of your way and you want to treat us some type of way. And I even love when President of France, Macron, came to Kinshasa, and they had this, a back and forth with Tshisekedi. He told him things that he needed to hear. But I felt sad when he went to Gabon, he did not, the Gabon president was kissing his ass. I'm like, bro, you should be telling these people what they deserve to hear. That time of imperialism, that time of sitting in front of a white man and not saying anything in front of the face, is long due. It's over with. It's over. I'm sorry. I was getting a phone call. Just give me 1 second here. I will. I'll get back to you. Just I'm sorry. Just don't just hold on a second. I'll be right back. I gotta address this quick. All right. All right. Let me just give me one. Bear with me a second. I'm sorry. All right, I'm back, y'all. So I'm sorry. I was getting a phone call from my mom, and I got to finish this live stream and I'll call it back. So I had to text her quick. All right, thank you very much for being patient with me. So the whole objective, um, this whole thing where Rwanda wants to, you know, seize land from Congo through military force, it's actually showing and proving that the plan that had been designed since Bill Clinton was president of the United States. Back then, there's a whole plan. You see, even the attempts to split Katanga, it was never successful under Mobutu, and I think that was the best opportunity that they had to pull it off. Since that one failed, I don't see that being possible. They can continue to do whatever they want under this current international laws. These people are restricted. They cannot do certain things. But we also, as Congolese, have to show our strength, have to show the willingness to defend our territorial integrities through our military. Therefore, they need to put infrastructures in place to make sure that our soldiers are highly trained, that our weaponry system are updated, that we are using the most advanced and sophisticated modern, weaponry system that are modern to address all attackers, to address all regional belligerents like Rwanda and Uganda. Make no mistake, Rwanda is not alone. Uganda is also behind them. Take a close look to what Museveni's son, who was the chief of their army, had been saying since this whole thing unfolded. It'd been saying that the M23 as don't have anywhere to go. They belong in Congo. We should never fight them. So we've experienced these issues for decades now, and you were telling us nothing is going on, and you will have some Congolese that are paid and they join this rebel group to fight against their own country, right? And you will see them go out in television, talk all kinds of smack. And then when they were recruiting these young boys and paying them $100, that's why the government has to come out with a plan to stop this, recruitment process of young in those regions joining the M23. And that's actually the repercussions of going to war or having instability in a country, because you cannot build infrastructures, you cannot build schools, because these kids don't go to school, they don't have a great education, they don't have nothing going on in that area. So it is very easy for a child to get recruited into a rebel group because the parents are not making any money. There is nobody in the family that's taking care of them. When somebody shows up with $100 and telling them all the benefits of joining the M23, and it goes and they train them quickly, they give them weapons, they're going to do that to make sure that they bring bread onto the family's table. Anybody can do that. And that's sadly the reality. Even when a community is marginalized one way or another, they will do anything to just make sure that they bring something on the table, because when they don't have educational institutions built around there, if they do not have jobs, they do not have access to all of these things that make you good and outstanding citizens of that country, you lose your morality. You will give yourself up to nonsense. You will go out of your way to accept any type of offer that's given to you in a monetary form to, accomplish certain tasks that you probably don't want to do. That's even against your will. But you don't have the choice but to do that, because by not doing it, you're really not going to have anything going on for yourself. And that's the truth. And these people know how vulnerable these populations are in the regions that they themselves, create instability. Therefore, they're continuing to go back to the same exact location to make sure that these area continue to remain the battlefield and makes it easier for their recruitment process. Because if the government can figure out a way to stop these recruitments, I promise you the M23 will be the end of M23. And since they are still continuing to identify all of this, I don't know, this snakes in the grass, this is a really great process in ending these insurgencies. And now by getting this House of Representative members who we have proof now he was financing these rebel groups, people like them, they deserve to be executed one way or another. They're allowed to be given the heaviest, sentence in the prison to make sure they never see a daylight ever again. Because with all the crimes that had been committed in the Eastern of Congo since 1994, man, a regime like Paul Kagame should never, ever, under no circumstances, exist in that region, ever. But who are we to make that happen? We live in a world where a bully becomes a victim and a victim becomes a prisoner. Congo was continuously attacked by means of military force. On the top of that, we were imposed armed sanctions. So I'm being bullied, but at the same time, I am restricted from acquiring weapons to defend myself. So what am I left with? Nothing to defend myself with. And that's exactly what happened to us. So now Paul Kagame had publicly stated that there are lands that were taken from Rwanda under whatever empire he said. I don't even want to read a book about that because we know the geographical map of Africa after the Berlin Conference. Even that was another historic nightmare, but we know our limits. At least I have books that I read that show that under Leopold II, since the labor was increasingly, needed in Congo, and they needed to bring people from elsewhere. And Rwanda is in our neighbor. There were Rwandans that were brought into Congo to farm or, help out with manpower, because under Leopold II, the manpower that he needed to extract, rubber and all the other resources that he had access to. So they needed more manpower coming from elsewhere. Therefore, that's how some Rwandans ended up in Congo. And those that, immigrated to Congo for these opportunities, stay there. They created communities there. With those, we never had issues with them. We live with them as brothers and sisters in Congo. We never had an issue with them. Until Paul Kagame, thirsty of power he wanted to annihilate as many Hutu as possible to make sure that Tutsis are the only ones in power, are the only ones in administration position, and make sure that they set up a system to attack Congo, justifying why they went. If they were following the Hutu rebels in Congo, we'll also make the same claim that we are following the Congolese, rebels in Rwanda, so we can make it equal? No. We don't have ethnic conflicts. They do. They only have two ethnics, Hutus and Tutsis. We have way more than that. There's no way we're sharing the same or similar history as them. We do not have ethnic conflicts happening in Congo whatsoever. And it has been proven by our politicians. And I admire their intelligence, their way of seeing things, and the analysis that they were able to put out there on national televisions. And that's great work, by the way. So brothers and sisters, I felt like I needed to address this because this had been bothering me since I heard that. It made my stomach twinge and I just couldn't hold it back any longer. So I needed to come out here and talk to you about it. So the benefits of owning your own land and making sure that you do things in it, not only that you will economically advance and have power over your country's economy, but it also secures the future of your children for the generation that are coming. I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Please share the video with a friend, a relative. Maybe they'll be interested. I'll keep you updated on my trip to Congo really, really soon. I am supposed to fly out this Friday, the 21st. Unfortunately, I had to call the Ethiopian Airlines, letting them know that I want to keep the ticket open, and I will call them back with another date because there's something that just came up at my job that I need to stay here for another 2, maybe 3 weeks. But it shouldn't be more than 3 weeks though. Once I get that over with, and I will call them and set up another date. So I'll see you guys really, really soon. I hope you enjoy this live stream. Make sure you share with a friend and a family member. And make sure to leave a comment down below about what we talked about. And if there is any other concerns. Not an expert in politics, but I'm just talking as Congolese who love his country. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. Until the next video, guys, I'll see you soon. Peace out and have a fantastic rest of your day.